Yashahime has too much filler, it's too slow, the writing's a mess, not enough story plots last more than one episode, Axel, you're so cute, funny, and humble, Yashahime's first season was so rushed. These are things that I hear all the time in my comments. Well, maybe most of them anyways. The rest might just be in my head. But I wanted to take a moment to compare the first season of Inuyasha and Yashahime, kind of look at them both episode by episode, and see how much filler really exists in them, how the pacing compares, and how each is broken down in terms of story development. Now, a trend I've seen in comments of many videos where I compare Inuyasha and Yashahime are basically three types of the same comment. 1, I'm not gonna watch this video, I know Inuyasha's better. 2, I don't need to watch this, Yashahime sucks. And 3, I'll save you the time, Inuyasha is much better than Yashahime. Let me save you some time. Don't leave a comment if you haven't watched the video. I probably won't read comments that start with this. The second I see something start like that, I skip it and move on to the next one. These videos are meant to be fun discussions between me and you, or you guys together in the comments, and dismissive shit like that doesn't help anyone. If you watch this whole video and you disagree with it, you have points that you have problems with, that's fine. I love getting criticism that is thought out and helps me create better content in the future by maybe seeing new perspectives or learning how other people think. I can make more videos like this if I know how people think. But if you are actively leaving comments that I'm not gonna watch this, I have this opinion, let me just put this in a different framing. Imagine you go to an Indian restaurant. You went there, of course, by yourself, you clicked on the video, and you go up to the owner of the restaurant and you say, hey, fuck curry, pasta's better. I don't want any. And then you leave and complain about it. Why? Like, either try the food and then give a critique, or don't go into the restaurant to begin with. I don't know. But if you do end up watching this video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content and want to see more of it. You can also check out the links in the description for my Discord, my Patreon, and my Twitch, if you want to support the channel a little bit extra or be a more active part of the community. But with all that being said, let's get into it, covering the first season of Inuyasha, then the first season of Yashahime. Of course, these are going to be quick summaries because otherwise this would be a 40-minute video. It still might, I don't know, this is like a 15-page script at this point, I want to die. And something I want to cover up top though is my definition of filler for the purpose of this video. Now, the first season of Inuyasha has no filler, it is all one-to-one from the manga, which is great. However, the first season of Yashahime, there is no manga, there is no source material to base it off of, so technically that is all non-filler too, but that's just objectively wrong. So to put them on a fair playing field for this video, I'm going to say that filler, again, just for the purpose of this video, not in the grand scheme of things, is an episode that takes place which does not progress the plot, does not offer new abilities, does not give new character development, nothing like that. It might be even repeating themes we've seen in the past. Basically just an episode that if it wasn't there, nothing would really change in the story. It could be skipped and you'd be fine. But let's get into episode 1 of Inuyasha. So episode 1, the girl who overcame time and the boy who was just overcome. This is a classic episode. It's absolutely amazing for a start to a series. We start off with Inuyasha being pinned to the sacred tree by Kikyo, her being cremated with the jewel, and then being reincarnated as Kagome, where she's pulled into the past by Mr. Centipede, and she's forced to unseal Inuyasha to protect her. Absolute banger, perfect episode. Episode 2, The Seekers of the Sacred Jewel, acts as kind of a basis for the actual story, giving Inuyasha and Kagome their motivation. It begins with Inuyasha attacking her for the jewel, Kaede puts the beads of subjugation on, and we get our first sit boy. They become more civil together, and then Kagome is kidnapped by a bunch of bandits before their leader is revealed to be a crow. They chase the bird, and as it escapes with the jewel, Kagome shoots it down, shattering the jewel in this instance by accident, and thus giving them the mission of collecting the shards. Episode 3, Down the Rabbit Hole and Back Again. This is our first Monster of the Week style episode, or mini-arc. Yura of Demon Hair shows up, and using the power of the Shikon Jewel Shard to attack the village. Meanwhile, Kagome goes back to her own time through the Bone Eater's Well. Episode 4, Yura of the Demon Hair. This is a continuation of the last episode, in which Inuyasha goes to the modern era to bring Kagome back. They fight Yura, and Kagome kills the demon for the first time by shattering the red skull and comb. Episode 5, Aristocratic Assassin Sesshomaru. This was a big one. The introduction of Fluffy, Miyoga, and Jokin. Kagome learns a bit about Inuyasha's past, before Sesshomaru uses a revived Izuyoi to bait Inuyasha into a trap. He and Kagome are brought to an illusory world, and Kagome notices that the woman does not have a reflection. Episode 6, Tetsaiga the Phantom Sword. Kagome snaps back into reality, and Inuyasha is freed from the Muona. Sesshomaru goes in to attack, but the Muona sacrifices herself to save Inuyasha. Sesshomaru grabs the pearl from Inuyasha's eye, and everyone jumps into the portal that he creates to find Toga's tomb and the test Saiga. Episode 7, Showdown, Inuyasha vs. Sesshomaru. Kagome pulls the sword from the altar, gives it to Inuyasha, and Kagome pulls the sword from the altar, gives it to Inuyasha, and Sesshomaru transforms. Inuyasha eventually manages to make the test Saiga transform as well, and cuts off Sesshomaru's arm before everyone leaves the tomb. Episode 8, The Toad Who Would Be Prince. Another monster of the week. We meet a kid named Amari Nobunaga, who's basically a dude simping for a princess. They find out that some toad yokai has a jewel shard and is possessing the prince. They kill him, yada yada. The prince and the princess get together, and Nobunaga cries with his monkey. Episode 9. Enter Shippo, plus the amazing Thunder Brothers. Shippo finally shows up. He tries to fight the Thunder Brothers to avenge his father, and gets bodied. The demons abduct Kagome, and she is once again held hostage and needs to wait for Inuyasha to save her. Episode 10, Phantom Showdown, the Thunder Brothers vs. Test Saiga. Inuyasha manages to kill Monten, Hiten eats his brother, and with 5 jewel shards, he battles Inuyasha. However, Inuyasha manages to pull a victory regardless. Albeit, it was heckin' close. Episode 11, Terror of the Ancient No Mask. Kagome goes home, and they find a No Mask which has been brought to life by a jewel shard. Basically a monster of the week, and I would consider it to be fairly filler. Episode 12, The Soul Piper and the Mischievious Little Soul. So again, a monster of the week, but this time in a heartbreaking, hella depressive way, where we learn about a girl who died in a fire, and bruh, this episode doesn't affect the story at all. Why did they come out here just to make us sad for no reason? That said, what a beautiful episode. Episode 13, The Mystery of the New Moon and the Black-Haired Inuyasha. The team is fighting a bunch of little spider dudes and a big spider dude. The spiders attack at night, and Shippo and Kagome learn that Inuyasha becomes human during the new moon and can't protect himself. And towards the end of the episode, as the priest, who is a spider in disguise, is about to win, the sun rises and Inuyasha kills him. Episode 14, Kikyo's Stolen Ashes. A demon sorceress named Urasue steals Kikyo's ashes, and the gang help Kaede track her down. Meanwhile, Urasue fails to revive Kikyo because her soul has already been reincarnated. Episode 15, Return of the Tragic Priestess Kikyo. Kagome has been kidnapped again, and part of her soul enters Kikyo. When Inuyasha calls Kikyo's name, she is revived, and enraged, she tries to kill him for betraying her 50 years ago. Kagome's soul returns back to her body, and Kikyo falls off a cliff as Inuyasha reflects. Episode 16, Mystical Hand and the Amorous Monk Miroku. 16 episodes in, and we finally meet Miroku. The traveling monk is trying to find the Shikon jewel shards and encounters Kagome, trying to steal hers. Inuyasha shows up, they fight a little bit, Miroku breaks out the wind tunnel and tries to absorb him, but Kagome jumps in the way, forcing him to close it. Afterwards, we learn about the origin of his curse, and again, 16 episodes in, we hear about Naraku for the first time. Episode 17, Cursed Ink of the Hell Painter. Another Monster of the Week story. This time, an artist is using a jewel shard to bring his paintings to life. He gets killed, the end, next episode. Episode 18, Naraku and Sesshomaru join forces. Naraku gives Sesshomaru a human arm with a jewel shard so that he can use the test Saiga. Jokin summons all the demons hidden from a nearby mountain, and Sesshomaru uses the test Saiga to slay them all at once. Miroku uses the wind tunnel, and the Saimyosho show up for the first time to poison him. Episode 19, Go Home to Your Own Time, Kagome. Kagome gets injured when trying to shoot Sesshomaru's arm, and Inuyasha tells Shippo and Miroku to bring her back to the well. Inuyasha gets his sword back, Sesshomaru throws away his severed arm as the jewel shard returns back to Naraku. Inuyasha forces Kagome back to her own time, and then blocks the well to make sure she can't return. Episode 20, Despicable Villain, The Mystery of Onigumo. Kaede tells Inuyasha the story of Onigumo, and how Kikyo nursed him back to life despite him being a very evil person. We learned how Naraku was created, and Naraku used jewel shards to corrupt a demon named Royokan. Episode 21, Naraku's True Identity Unveiled. The battle with Royokan continues, and Shippo brings the jewel shards to the Bone Eater's well, which helps Kagome return to the past. Naraku also reveals that he is the one responsible for what happened to Inuyasha and Kikyo 50 years ago. Episode 22, A Wicked Smile, Kikyo's Wandering Soul. We catch up with Kikyo, who's just trying to live a peaceful life in a small town. However, a local monk discovers that she needs to steal souls to stay alive. Our main gang are investigating the neighboring castle, where they find a lot of women losing their souls, which leads them to Kikyo. Episode 23, Kagome's Voice and Kikyo's Kiss. Inuyasha tries to find Kikyo, but Kagome finds her first, and Kikyo explains how she died. When Inuyasha finds her, Kikyo embraces him, saying she doesn't care what happened, and tries to drag him to the underworld with her. Kagome manages to get through, and Kikyo finds her way back to Kaede's place and confirms everything about Naraku. Episode 24, Enter Sango the Demon Slayer. Sango arrives and is a fucking badass. Again, we are 24 episodes in before we meet her though. Her and the other demon slayers go to a castle to clear out the demons who are there, however it's a trap and Kohaku kills everyone under the control of a spider demon. With only Sango surviving, she seeks revenge and Naraku convinces her that Inuyasha is the one who caused the event. Episode 25, Naraku's insidious plot. Sango gets a Shikon jewel shard from Naraku to keep her alive and is sent to fight Inuyasha. And the truth is revealed that Naraku is the one pulling the strings, and then she joins the gang. Episode 26, Secret of the Jewel of Four Souls revealed. One of my favorite episodes in the entire series. Sango brings the gang to Midoriko's cave, where we can learn about the origins of the Shikon jewel, the story of Midoriko, and how Kikyo got the jewel to begin with. Inuyasha begins questioning if it's okay to make a selfish wish on the jewel. Episode 27, The Lake of the Evil Water God. A water god is demanding sacrifices from a village, the gang get together to beat his ass, and also Miroku tries to sleep with an actual water goddess who's about 3 inches tall. Don't worry about it. But that's it. Now, something I want to bring up here quickly before we go into Yashahime's episodes. This should have ended on episode 26, right? Like, finding out about Midoriko and the Shikon jewel shards and all that, that was awesome. Why did we have to go the extra episode to have the finale be the water god? You know, I don't like that. Either way, Yashahime. Episode 1, Inuyasha Since Then. The final chapter of the Inuyasha manga, we're told about when Inuyasha and the gang fight against the rampaging Roothead. The biggest problem I have with this one is that it doesn't so much act as a real start for Yashahime, as it does act as a postscript for Inuyasha. I'm a pretty big believer that a new story should probably start with, I don't know, the new story. Episode 2, The Three Princesses, the real start to the series. We learn about the forest fire and how the twins were separated. We see Toa's life in the modern era and how she doesn't belong. Meanwhile, in the past, we're introduced to Moroha, Setsuna, Hisui, and Kohaku. But not only that, we see the rainbow pearls in action as Mistress Three-Eye takes the pearls from Moroha and Setsuna to transform and become stronger. Sensing the pearls, Roothead awakens and opens a portal to the modern era, sending Moroha, Setsuna, and Three Eyes there, where the twins reunite, and Toa is sent into a rage, trying to protect her sister. Episode 3, The Dream Butterfly. The girls take on Three Eyes, finally killing her and gaining their pearls back. In the past, Kaede explains about Sesshomaru's daughters to Kohaku, and how Sesshomaru left the village with them, and eventually Setsuna would return by herself. A demon takes over Toa's body for a short time, she fights Setsuna, and then Setsuna uses some demon-slaying medicine to expel the demon. The girls chill in the modern era for a bit, cute scenes ensue, and Setsuna and Moroha talk about the Dream Butterfly, setting up the plot for Toa's mission. Episode 4, Gateway to the Past. The girls make a deal with Roothead to open the gate to the past in exchange for their pearls. Along the way, the spirit of the Tree of Ages, taking the form of Kikyo, stops them and tells them about Toga, Kirinmaru, Sesshomaru, and the Degenerate Age, asking them to slay both Kirinmaru and Sesshomaru to stop it. The girls reject this and are sent to battle Roothead for disobeying the spirit. They kill him, and we cut to this shot of Sesshomaru talking to the spirit of the tree, and Rin stuck in stasis. Episode 5, Jakotsumaru of the Red Bone Palace. We get our first fight with one of the perils, sort of. Moroha apparently woke up next to a defeated peril, takes his pearl, and he's now being revived by his son, Jakotsumaru. The girls get together, and Miyoga explains everything about the perils and Kirinmaru. The girls battle Jakotsumaru and Tokotsu. Moroha gets into her Beniyasha form for the first time, and Setsuna exercises Tokotsu. Episode 6, The Catwan at the Old Temple. A reimagining of an Inuyasha chapter, and the first to not really affect the plot. Some cat demons have taken over a town, and the girls chase them up a mountain where they find a temple with this dude who looks like an idol from the modern era. He is possessed by the biggest cat, and then Toa binds them with energy and absorbs the demon, sparing the human. While this is a Monster of the Week episode, we do learn about Toa's so far undeveloped fighting abilities, as up to this point we've only seen her use the energy sword. Episode 7, Meeting Through an Apple. We start with Kyuki telling Kirinmaru what's going on with the girls and Tokotsu, Setsuna goes demon hunting, and Toa starts looking for the Dream Butterfly. She instead runs into Riku, and they talk for a bit, and Riku leaves his sword as he dips, leaving her to take the blame for a stolen sword, and resulting in her being arrested by Yotsume the Owl in disguise, and looping back to the first episode. Episode 8, The Dream-Gazing Trap. The girls chase Yotsume and are led to Kyuki's cave. Kyuki gives Yotsume a pearl and he transforms. He uses the Dream-Gazing Trap, and we get shots of Moroha, Takachiyo, and Toa's dreams, in which we see Inuyasha and Kagome fending off Sesshomaru and Kirinmaru, giving Moroha to Hachi to escape. We see Takachio being left with Jubei, and we see the Dream Butterfly taking energy from Setsuna and giving it to Rin. The girls manage to kill Yotsume and then take on Kyuki. Toa uses the Soryuha to take her out, and Riku arrives to take Kyuki's pearl. Episode 9, Meifuku the Myoju. The girls are sent on a mission to stop a demon who's been terrorizing the area. Along the way, they meet a small demon child, however the girls leave him and find Konton. He has armor that they can't seem to pierce at all, and they get kinda bodied. Luckily, the small demon from earlier whisks them away and explains that Konton killed his dad and stole part of his shell to make his own armor. Konton catches up with them, and they battle one more time. Toa floods the armor with Yoki and brings the spirit of the demon back for a short time, just long enough to reunite with his son and hold the demon in place as they cut off the armor. Konton is now vulnerable and makes his escape. Episode 10, the Gold and Silver Pearls. We have the twin demons Kinka and Ginka who are rampaging. The girls are sent to deal with them. However, upon seeing their pearls, Kinka and Ginka decide to work together. They possess the twins, stealing the pearls and returning to Joka. The girls follow them and find that Joka has betrayed Kinka and Ginka and is trying to kill them. Feeling sympathy and a strange connection to the demon, Setsuna decides to help them out, and together they defeat Joka, regaining their pearls, however, unable to protect Ginka and Kinka. While this is a Monster of the Week episode, it does act as a way to show more of Setsuna's development. Episode 11, Curse of the Man-Eating Pond. Another reimagined chapter from Inuyasha. There's a pond that's holding two demons inside of it, they're eating villagers who come by, and the girls are sent to deal with it. We find that one of the demons is using poisonous gas, while the other is using venom. From here we learn that one of the twins is immune to one type of poison, while the other is immune to the other. Working together, they manage to defeat the demons. And while this is a Monster of the Week story, again, just like the cat episode, we're at least learning more about the twins and their abilities. Episode 12, The Night of the New Moon and the Black-Haired Toa. Konton sends a sage-turned-demon named Nikosen to deal with the girls. Nikosen lays waste to a mountain to lure them out, but when the girls arrive, Toa is acting strange. Turns out that it's the night of the new moon and she's losing her demon powers, becoming fully human. Setsuna and Moroha take on Nikosen and try to protect Toa, and Miyoga shows up to give some pretty flawed exposition about how the new moon works. Nikosen overtakes Setsuna and Moroha, and dawn breaks, allowing Toa to finally kill the demon with a Soryuha. Episode 13, The Delicious Feudal Monks. We finally meet the last peril, Totetsu. He's wandering around following the orange pearl to find virtuous monks that he can eat. The girls are sent to defend Hisui's father, Miroku, who is on a 1,000-day training exercise. Totetsu shows up and completely overwhelms the twins, Miroku and Hisui, and Miroku undoes a seal that he had placed on Setsuna's demon energy, allowing her to transform and take on the demon, tricking him into eating poisonous blood. After Totetsu leaves, Miroku reapplies the seal. Episode 14, The One Behind the Forest Fire. The girls are hired to protect a woman named Tamano. She had just escaped from a mountain god named Homura, who kidnapped her a while back, and the dude is basically a hyper-violent incel who is insanely jealous. He's willing to kill any man who Tamano talks to, or even people who just look in her direction. The girls arrive to fight him, and Homura recognizes them, explaining that he was the one who started the forest fire. The demon is mostly able to fight the girls off with little effort, however Tamano tells the demon that she will never love him, and filled with grief, he ignites himself, burning himself to death. Episode 15, Farewell Under the Lunar Eclipse. We got a flashback episode where Riku explains the event of 14 years ago, in which the twins are born, Hosenki II made a new black pearl for Inuyasha, and Inuyasha and Sesshomaru work together to destroy the fragment of the Grim Comet. We learn that Kirinmaru and Toga did this 500 years ago as well, and during this time, Zero tells Sesshomaru that Kirinmaru will likely kill his daughter because they are Hanyo, and as such, Sesshomaru takes his twins to hide them away. On his journey, he's attacked by Joka and steals these silver and gold pearls from her. He gives them to his daughters before having Jokin set up a barrier around the sacred tree to keep them safe. He then allies himself with Kirinmaru, allowing him to seal Inuyasha and Kagome in the Black Pearl, and stop Kirinmaru from killing them. Zero learns about where the twins are hiding and has Homura burn down the forest. Episode 16, Double-Edged Moroha. This is Moroha's backstory episode. 3 years ago, we see Moroha being mentored by Yawaragi, a member of Koga's clan. Yawaragi puts Moroha through the Kodoku, forbidding her from using her rouge. She goes on to sell Moroha to Jubei as she's in a bind for money, and this is because while defending Moroha from an army of demon chickens, try to correct me on that, you can't, Yawaragi is tricked into putting on cursed armor, and unless she buys a key, it will continue to shrink until it crushes her. Back in the present, Konton hires her to kill Moroha, and Yawaragi accepts that she can push Moroha into a corner and force her to learn the Crimson Backlash Wave, killing her former master who would have likely died soon from the armor anyways. allowing her death to have some meaning. Episode 17, The Trap of the Two Perils. Riku makes a plan with Konton to lure the girls into a trap. He then tells Moroha where to find Totetsu, and he tells the twins that Kiramaru is connected to the Dream Butterfly. The girls find Totetsu, who is pretending to eat a monk, and when they show up, he flies away, leading them into Konton's trap. Here, the twins find themselves in a foggy field that Konton is able to manipulate. Setsuna recalls that their family is able to detect Yoki, and the twins slice through an intersection of Yoki and reveal Konton. Episode 18, Sesshomaru and Kirinmaru. The twins fight Konton and push him into a corner. He summons a massive monster and is tricked into having that monster kill him. Riku manages to snag Konton's blue pearl, and the girls reunite with Moroha to overpower Totetsu. He once again escapes and runs toward Kirinmaru's boat, where Kirinmaru himself actually shows up and sends Totetsu away. He immediately overpowers the girls with no effort, although he is scratched by Toa. As he's about to wipe them out, Sesshomaru shows up to stop him. They have a quick fight, and Kirinmaru decides to let the girls live as they pose him no threat. Something to mention here, while we are actually seeing Kirinmaru in action for the first time at episode 18, we have known about him since like episode 7, unlike Naraku, who we found out about in episode 16. Episode 19, Princess Aya's Beniyasha Hunting. This is the only true filler episode in my eyes. There isn't really any new abilities or character development beyond Setsuna and Moroha realizing how much Toa cares, but like, come on, read the room, that's been pretty obvious. A princess wants revenge on Moroha for getting her clothes dirty back in episode 7, and she makes an elaborate contest between demon slayers and bounty hunters to have her killed. It fails, obviously, and this episode is probably my least favorite in the series, but I do recognize that it's a good way to try and break the tension, but, you know... Episode 20, The Hidden Village for Half-Demons. Setsuna's backstory episode where we find out about her life after the fire. She was brought by Jokin and Aoun to Shiori's village for half-demons. Shiori keeps up a barrier to keep the Hanyo safe, and Setsuna lives here for several years before trying to live with Kaede. That doesn't really work out, and she moves back to the demon village, and she moves back to the Hanyo village. We also get a moment where Gaga Gozen, a moth demon, tries to invade the village. He overpowers everyone here, and Miroku shows up to try and help. But he too gets overpowered. As Gozen goes in to eat Shiori, Setsuna's demon form takes over, and she kills him instantly and very brutally. With Shiori's help, Miroku seals the demon form away using the Kanomitsu no Tomoe as a basis. Episode 21, Secret of the Rainbow Pearls. We pick up with Kirinmaru learning about Toga's injury. He sends Riku to send medicine to him, however Riku is far too late and Toga dies. Filled with grief, Zero makes a wish on the Shikon Jewel to take away her demonic powers and her heart. As she cries, her tears turn into the rainbow pearls. Back in the present, the Dream Butterfly lures Toa away from her home while she is in her human form. She finds Riku and they talk a bit about his past and about him wanting the rainbow pearls. Totetsu interrupts and Riku continuously saves Toa, even putting himself in harm's way. Totetsu chases them away and they reunite with the other girls before Riku beheads Totetsu and takes his orange pearl. Toa also gives Riku her silver pearl and they go their separate ways. Episode 22, The Stolen Seal. We start with Kirinmaru and Toga teaming up against the Grim Comet, as well as a bit of dialogue between Zero and Toga. Pretty sure she was trying to smash. In the present, Zero steals Miroku's sealing power and releases Setsuna's seal, forcing her to go on a rampage. We learn that Zero can bind her life to others, and that Rin is tied to her. Setsuna gains demonic energy wings, and she fights Moroha. Moroha gets totally messed up, and Hisui and his sisters Kinu arrive to help. Toa grabs a hold of Setsuna, and Kinu places a new seal on her, and in the modern era, Osamu Kirin notices the Grim Comet. Episode 23, The Three Princesses Strike Back. The three girls set out to fight Zero, tracking her to the place where Toga died. Riku tells Zero that now all of the pearls have been gathered in one place, and Zero becomes angry, taking the pearls and restoring her power. Setsuna manages to land a hit on her with her blood blade, killing Zero. Then Zero gets roasted by Sesshomaru's mother for about 10 minutes before Sesshomaru revives her to keep Rin alive. As Zero revives, she blasts the Tenseiga with energy and snaps it, and Kirinmaru descends from the sky. In this episode, we also learn about the Pinwheel of Time, which was likely a teaser for the plot of Season 2. Episode 24, Sesshomaru's Daughter. Kirinmaru apologizes to Sesshomaru for his sister's actions, and he and Zero begin to argue, ending with Kirinmaru scattering the pearls and Zero denouncing their relationship. Sesshomaru says he will deal with Zero, and Kirinmaru begins a battle with the girls. Riku immediately betrays him, literally stabbing him in the back before teleporting away. Kirinmaru, despite his injuries, still overpowers them, and as the battle continues, he lands a fatal slash on Setsuna. Enraged, Moroha transforms into Beniyasha, and Towa gets her full demon form as well. Each, likely because of being so close to where Toga died, gain spectral Yoki bodies which take the form of Great Dog Demons or Toga's body. They battle Kiramaru and it is fucking hype, however in the end they still lose, and Kiramaru leaves, letting them live in hopes of a battle in the future. Towa begins to cry for her lost sister and Sesshomaru arrives to give her the broken Tenseiga, asking her if she can try using it to save Setsuna before vanishing. And that's where we end it. So some surface level observation. Inuyasha's first season did have an extra 3 episodes, about 13% more in comparison to Yashahime's full run, giving it more time to breathe in general. Then we have filler content, which again for the purpose of this video is episodes that don't tend to give new abilities or new character development. These tend to be, but don't have to be, the Monster of the Week episodes. And I can see the comments now. Axel, in Inuyasha, a lot of the Monster of the Week episodes ended with jewel shards. That counts as plot progression, doesn't it? And to that I say, no. Yes, but no. How much does that actually mean? Well, in Yashahime, they are dealing with 7 pearls. There's a set number, which means every one that they have is an accomplishment and tangible progress, even if that's not their goal to begin with. In Inuyasha, on the other hand, how many jewel shards were there? We had no idea at this point. There could have been 10. There could have been 20, 200, 2,000. I don't know. Could have been anything. So at what point does having just any random monster carry a jewel shard count as actual plot progression? And like, can you honestly look at the episode with the no mask and tell me that's inherently more important than the cat episode? Because was it though? Can you look at the episode with the little girl in the fire and compare that to the Demon Slayer versus Bounty Hunter episode? Do either of them help the plot at all? I wouldn't say so. Yes, the fire girl thing 100 times better as an episode, if not more. But in terms of the actual storyline, what do they change? Nothing on either side. And this actually gets much worse as Inuyasha progresses because Naraku will give out and take jewel shards as the battles end. And like that just creates an infinite loop of no progress. Whereas in Yashahime, the pearls aren't actually the goal for the most part so far. The goal is to get to Kiramaru and learn about the Dream Butterfly, right? And to do that, we have to clear the perils, which is what most of the first season is about. Clearing the perils and getting to the point where you can interact with Kiramaru. That's what they do. There's tangible progress every time they kill a peril. And that's why once they kill 4 perils, they have their fight with Zero and Kiramaru. It's like stepping stones. And again, episodes like The Water God, while not technically filler because it was in the manga, how is that more important than the episode with Kinka and Ginka in Yashahime, where Setsuna starts to come to terms with her relationship with Towa? That's some actual character development. That's some progress. Water God is just Miroku trying to fuck a 3-inch tall girl. And I have other issues with that, but it's not story progression. If we're to look at these 2 seasons with the loosest and most extreme numbers, you could say that Inuyasha has about 6 filler episodes of the 27, while Yashahime has a generous 3 to 4 out of 24. Inuyasha definitely has more Monster of the Week filler, but that said, there's another issue when it comes to Yashahime. Many of the debatably filler episodes are taken from story beats of Inuyasha, the reimagining of manga chapters that never made it into the story, right? While this can be done in effective ways, I think that they were left too similar to the base material, and as a result, the characters who were never meant to interact with that story are now facing those problems. Sure, there was some character development or new abilities, but it can come across as almost feeling like Naruto is taking part in a One Piece arc and learning something there. There's a disconnect between the themes being presented and the ones that they're presenting them with, and that can make the material a bit abrasive. Now we can look at another big complaint that people have, story arcs. Inuyasha has 7 or 8 episodes or arcs that extend beyond 1 episode. These are given more time to breathe, and as such they're more memorable. Would Yura be as memorable if she was only given 1 episode? I mean, probably, because she's cute as fuck. But you know what I mean, it probably wouldn't be as much. Consider the difference between Yura and the Water God. There's a very big difference because one was given more time to resonate. And in comparison to Inuyasha's 7 or 8, we have Yashahime's 4, maybe 5 if you want to be generous. There was actually a different problem that Yashahime faced, more so than the arcs not getting enough time. The issue is that the episodes were released in an order that made no sense sometimes. If you were to swap the order of some episodes like this, it would have felt like the plot was given more time and things could have leveled out in a more digestible way. The biggest flaw in Yashahime, in my mind, is that it has unstructured presentation and delivery of episodes. The story beats weren't necessarily bad themselves, but they were presented in a very thorny way, which turned a lot of people off, myself included at times. Imagine if during the first encounter with Sesshomaru, Inuyasha stopped, fought the Toad Prince, and then went into the Black Pearl. It would have felt so disjointed, and I think that's where the big issue lies. Yes, many of the themes discussed in Inuyasha were much deeper and more thoughtful than Yashahime ones, absolutely. The concept of a guy who was in love with someone who he had lost, and their reincarnation, that's some heavy shit, that's impactful. These intertwined revenge stories that span 50 years, that's intense. But to say nothing in Yashahime carries any weight or that it's impactful is to just intentionally be disingenuous. Despite that, when it comes to structuring the first season, like, Inuyasha does it infinitely better. I'm not out here to say that Yashahime is better than Inuyasha, or that it's a perfect show. In both cases, it isn't. But I am here to tell you that it's fucking annoying hearing people praise Inuyasha and condemning Yashahime for issues that they share. Hearing that Yashahime has too much filler, when there's really not that much of it, and Inuyasha has just as much, if not more, is so annoying when they say Inuyasha did it better. Neither show is perfect. Both of them are riddled with flaws, but nostalgia goggles and presenting blatant hypocrisy is just stupid. And at the end of the day, both shows are fine. Both shows are fun. If you enjoy them, just enjoy them. And if you don't enjoy them, shut the fuck up and watch something else. People are out here acting like if they stop watching the show, they're gonna get shot. Like, it ain't that deep. There are thousands of anime out there, and you can literally watch any of them instead of making yourself upset watching a show you don't like just to complain on Twitter or in YouTube comments for attention. Yes, you're allowed to have grievances. You're allowed to complain about a show. I'm a huge supporter of the idea that the more you like something, the more critical you should be of it. But there's a difference between being critical and being a black hole of enjoyment who's just an attention-seeking asshole. But that's just my thoughts on it. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, stop watching. To me, both shows are great. They both have essentially the same flaws in terms of writing, but Inuyasha is more deep and is given more time to breathe as a result of having more story arcs and having more time to breathe in a 27 episode season as opposed to a 24. Like, even just look at the difference we could have added in Yashahime if we stretched out these episodes. There's a huge difference in giving them more time. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this look at comparing the structure of both series. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. You can also consider checking out my Discord, following me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ExcelionYT, or in my Patreon through the link down below. As always, a big thank you to my patrons, with our Dai Yokai Aikerochu, Jacob Wiley, and Iffy Babes, our Yokai NL Cruz, Bloodwolf Mon, Jamie Heck, Joker Rose, Lucifina Akuma, and our Hanyo, Anthony Hogan, ICE Wallow Cum, Kiwi Dog, Love the Kiwi, Michael Grayco, Nega Kitty, Samantha Olsen, Savage Camel, and Simon Electric. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, remember to stay excellent.